welcome to all on this session. It is our privilege to welcome you, Smt Chaturvedi, for the 23rd Managing Committee meeting of Sportscom. We are honored and delighted with your presence. Thank you very much. The government has been making all efforts to transform sports by mainstreaming all its developmental aspects. The success of India at Tokyo Olympics 2021, pushing the country past our previous highest medal tally, was a fantastic achievement. One must also laud the effort of the government for their tremendous support to all the athletes for the training, logistics, equipments, etc. The pandemic delayed games made things challenging in some ways or other for every athlete who took part. All in all, the year 2021 was a year of achievement and proved to be a remarkable one for Indian sports as India recorded its best medal tally at the Tokyo Olympics and Paralympics. Ma'am, we have some of the people who have been closely associated working with the ministry in this journey as far as athletes is concerned. And I'm sure they will share their personal experience and how good it has been for them. Also, the National Anti-Doping Bill 2021, which seeks to provide statutory framework for the functioning of NADA and NDTL, besides strengthening measures to tackle drug abuse in Indian sports, is something we at Sportscom have been closely trying to work with. The budget coming during the third wave of pandemic, we are confident that it is expected to focus on measures for strengthening economic recovery. And the sports sector would also be on track with the resumption of sporting activities in its full capacity. We at Sportscom, ma'am, are committed to create strategic and fruitful alliances with all authorities and stakeholders to help Indian sports emerge from its pandemic stronger than ever. Our role we see at Sportscom is for industry status for sports to provide an inclusive platform for sports manufacturers, sports infrastructure and developers, sports service providers, and media stakeholders advocating for issues based on research. There is, all of us at Sportscom believe, an opportunity for the Indian sports market to grow. So with that, Madam, we would like to request you to address all of us. We have enough time, so I'll invite the members also to ask questions at the end of ma'am's presentation or address to us. And when you do that, please also identify yourself so ma'am has a better appreciation of your background. Thank you. Over to you, Madam Secretary Chaturvedi.
A very good afternoon to Mr. Dani and all the members of Sportscom. I'm very happy to be finally able to meet you all. We have been talking about it for the last couple of months and it materialized today. Let me start by wishing everyone a very happy Republic Day. It is a very significant occasion for the country as we move into a new year and a lot of visionary things happening under the watch of our Honorable Prime Minister. So it is a very happy occasion, a Republic Day. And I have had the introductory meeting with the Sportscom delegation when I took over in October. I also met with the Sports Sector Skill Council people, and I have been happy to understand the work you do. And I must say that it is a very important and useful aspect of what the Sports Ministry considered its important and central, charter. Insofar as the industry is concerned, the sports industry, we are all aware that it's a very old industry and it has come of age recently. And with the onset of digital viewership, so much of TV, sports itself has become very central to the life of every person in this country. With the onset of the internet and easily available smartphones, now the sports content has taken a next level type of growth. And we have many models of success now, starting with the IPL model, which has been replicated in other sports. and we seem to be really raring to go in so many other things that we have been witness to. Unfortunately, because of COVID, to which I'll come a bit later, as we speak now in the middle of this Omicron or third wave, whatever it's called, we are forced to pause and consider some things so as to go ahead in the future. In the meanwhile, I'm happy to also discuss the government's efforts in the area of excellence in sports. And like you said, you all have been closely associated with what is happening in the world of sports. So you're not new to what government has been doing in the recent years. We have these very mega events, starting with the youth games. Then we have other games such as the university games. We've even had our version of the winter games in the last couple of years. And the very huge public movement called Fit India movement, which is launched in 2019, where we have crores of followers and so many activities under the whole Fit India flag. Then the top scheme, the training for Olympic podium scheme, is now a very well-known term in the sporting world. And it has shown results in terms of our unprecedented success in the Olympics and Paralympics this year. This year, I mean, the year that has just gone by. And when I was talking to Neeraj Chopra, the first time I met him at our Sai Center in Patiala, and what he said was very nice and very uh, literally the key to everything. He said, I asked him, what has changed for you after you won a medal in the Olympics? So he says, अब confidence आ गया है मैडम कि हम लोग मेडल जीत सकते हैं, ओलंपिक मेडल जीत सकते हैं. कॉन्फिडेंस पहले इतना नहीं था, अब कॉन्फिडेंस आ गया है. So I think he speaks for the country that we have now become very confident that we are on the winner's table, we can do it, and we have a huge young population going for us. So there is no reason why we cannot aim and achieve that kind of success which we deserve. Uh, the larger world of the sports industry, which the current audience comprises, is about the sports ecosystem, about the kind of props and equipment and stuff that you provide to the sports world. And a very robust growth was expected to happen before COVID actually came in. So I'm aware of the losses that the industry has suffered during COVID. I read a report which said that at the peak of COVID, literally a daily loss of several crore rupees was being faced by the sports industry in Jalandhar, which is very sad. So these are the kind of things that we are confronted with today. And every threat that has happened to humankind has also been an opportunity. So in this sense, the whole COVID story, which has unfolded in the last 2 odd years, has also been an enormous opportunity for the whole world to see a lot of things being done differently. Like we are holding this meeting right now, we couldn't have probably imagined a meeting like this a couple of years ago. Nowadays, a Zoom or a VC meeting is so common that it has changed the entire way we function, apart from the concept of working from home. So, like that, in the world of sports, also, I think intrinsically what has changed is the whole concept of live sports events has undergone a fundamental shift. And I somehow think, with my experience of what I have seen in COVID, that we may actually never go back to the pre COVID situation of only live sport. Now, I think forever we are changed, and we have a combination of the entire hybrid model where part of the event is live and part of the event is found to be streaming digitally, or audiences watching it from elsewhere. So the whole model has undergone a change, and sports is a sphere where this model has been a difficult one to come by. In the initial days of COVID, lot of events got cancelled and simply stalled. But slowly, I think we, as a people, understood world over that we need to move on, and this whole concept of operating in bubbles or having competitions without spectators, etc., evolved, and now it is firming up as a new model. So this has been an opportunity to reshape the whole sports ecosystem. And I can quote an example of this, how it changes. Is if you recall, for our generation, the one-day matches were a very new thing in cricket about 20 to 30 years ago. And because of TV and especially color TV those days, it sounds odd, but these were things that my generation has seen coming. I mean, we saw color TV for the first time in 1982 during the Asian Games. So all those things I remember my mother's generation, they started talking very knowledgeably about cricket. And these were housewives who were mostly operating out of home, and their universe was very small. So I found my mothers and my aunts discussing cricket like they were literally, experts. So we used to find it very interesting that because of TV and because of commentary which became available in Hindi and so many things which happened, they suddenly started talking about cricket as if they understood everything about it. So similarly, because of COVID, the kind of changes that have come in our way of looking at sports or playing sports has completely changed. And like I said, it is not going back to anything which existed before. So, after the initial threats that were faced in this sector, we now slowly seem to be moving on to a model where we will all have to coexist with all these various threats that exist, because there could be a possibility of another round of shutdowns and we have to be prepared for it, and so on. Now we are mentally prepared to deal with all these situations, which we were not in the initial phase of COVID. So that brings me to the very important and central issue of esports and fantasy sports, which have also grown absolutely phenomenally in the last, especially the COVID phase. So these are the new ways in which we will have engagement with sports, and we will have all kinds of further developments which we can't even probably envisage right now. One of the things which people observe and find, that if you had a live audience and you had sports events, it was all highly localized sport. For example, baseball and all. I mean, it's a highly American sport. But now with this whole digital content and a global audience, everything is now becoming universalized. So that is going to also bring a lot of changes in the way we have played and seen the sport. So, with that background, and as we are in the middle of another, hopefully the end of a COVID wave, what do we see? What are the opportunities that we see which are ahead of us? So, in terms of the way I see it from government's perspective, there is a continuous growth in the quality infrastructure for sports, where central government pitches in and the state governments are also playing their own important role. So, as we go along, we'll have more and more quality infrastructure in sport and better facilities and access to people of all walks of life. I see a great role for indigenous games. Indigenous sport and indigenous games are a part of the Khelo India mandate. And I see that they're also getting a lot of interest and a lot of eyeballs, as they say, and they're also becoming popular. So that is one area where we're going to see a lot of exciting action in the future. I think you all very well know that fitness industry, because we've all been stuck at home, and so many people no longer go to office and things like that, there is a huge growth in the fitness industry, and I think it is only going to grow more and more exponentially. And on that note, I would say that our department of sports, is willing to collaborate, has always collaborated with all stakeholders, and any kind of initiatives that are required for the furtherance of the sport are our job. We are happy to be part of it, and we will be interested to know whatever possible ways in which we can actually help out and maybe solve a few problems or support in any way that is required. So with those remarks, I would like to conclude now, and I'll be happy to take some questions if you have from your esteemed members. Thank you for listening to me.
Thank you, Chaturvedi ji. Can we give her a round of applause, please? So, Madam, I have had, along with the colleagues of Sportscom, met you on two occasions, and both the time you have given us more than an hour. So that just shows the amount of interest you have taken in learning from all of us about our various backgrounds and the challenges that we have. So that has clearly come out in what you have shared with us today also, ma'am. So we really appreciate that. If I can just kick off and request Mr. Vivek Singh, who's one of our office bearers, to come up with his suggestions, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Jalaj. Sujata ma'am, such a privilege and pleasure to have you with us, and thank you for sparing the time. Yes, Sportscom has been doing a lot of work with the ministry, trying to push the agenda for growth in various sporting activities. There are a host of things that we can solve. What we'll try to do over the next few minutes is encapsulate for you 2 or 3 key points so that our attention and focus can be on finding a solution. And we'd require your guidance, your leadership to actually make this happen. So, ma'am, the team at Sportscom had shared with you that there is an aberration that continues to exist under GST. It is called reverse charge mechanism on sponsorship. What it means is that for any sporting event to happen, you need a sponsor. It is very simple. In India, gate receipts are far cry from covering any sporting event's cost. If a sporting event happens, it needs a sponsor. In this present scenario, the sponsor has to pay the government of India directly the 18% GST, which is the slab currently on sponsorship. The promoter organizing the event doesn't get that money, neither does he get input credit. So what has happened to the promoter is he has 100 suppliers to take care of who will all raise their bills on him with GST, which he has to pay without either getting the input credit or the actual money passed through. We have made several petitions to the government, and I believe this is one area where your involvement, your leadership can make a quick difference because it requires merely a notification from the Ministry of Finance. And I say this, ma'am, because in 2019, January the 1st, the ministry had another category called security services under the same RCM. There was a lobby, they heard the lobby, and on January 1st, 2019, they passed a 5-line notification saying henceforth security services will not be under RCM. But for some reason, when it comes to sponsorship of events, they have been slow. So our first appeal, and my colleagues have just 1 or 2 more points so we can keep your attention and focus and achieve things together, ma'am, is the reverse charge mechanism on sponsorship to be done away with, especially if a body corporate raises a bill or an invoice on a body corporate. We've even taken care of the important aspect, ma'am, that there is no loss to government, no loss of revenue to government. So when body corporate raises an invoice on body corporate, the body corporate is already subject to various host of laws and protocols, and it will comply with GST filing. So this is one fervent appeal, ma'am, and I would request your guidance as to how Sportscom can support you in making the right representations, coming with you to a meeting that you decide we should have, and actually being shoulder to shoulder with you in this matter. If there are any questions, I'd love to take it before I hand over to my colleague who will share the next couple of aspects which are important. Any questions, ma'am?
I don't have any questions. In fact, I have written a letter to a Department of Revenue on the same issue as soon as I had a meeting with you people. I will again pursue it with them as to what has been done about it. I've already written to them.
Appreciate. Let us know any help, further help you require from Sportscom.
I don't think so. I don't think I need any help at this point.
Thank you, madam. Can I just request another office bearer, Udit, to come up with his suggestions, please?
So, ma'am, Udit here. Nice to see you. Thank you for coming up and being part of this meeting and giving us the privilege today.
Thank you.
As Jalaj Bhai has mentioned, and also Vivek ji has talked about, we've wanting to really launch a very, I would say, sunrise sector policy for sports as an industry, and that requires a lot of interventions overall, which can be championed by the Ministry of Sport, which can become an enabler for a lot of entrepreneurs who are already there in sport, and also a lot of youngsters who are incubating and coming up with so many new ideas which can actually be facilitated. Like the film industry, when it was sanctioned, it was given some kind of stops at the time that it was uh, uh, you know notified. And I think as a sunrise sector, whether it is a GST angle, whether it is employee benefits, or some kind of a production linked incentive, or so many others that can drive this industry. I think it would be very useful to have a consultative meeting on the overall sports industry, which is not only limited to manufacturing alone, but manufacturing and services both. Today, the buzzword in the government itself is about sports, and a lot of new initiatives have been taken by the ministry at the center as well as the state. We've seen a lot of universities coming up. A new one has been just announced in Meerut to come up. We've also understood that yoga and wellness is coming up in a big way. So how can we, integrate some of this things which are working in silos? For example, also as a next step, I wanted to talk about is sports infrastructure, where I am keenly participating as an investor and an operator both. And today, there is uh, there is a scheme from Niti Aayog for infrastructure development. However, that's not sufficient. For example, if somebody is coming up with a $100 to or 100 rupees to invest in it, then what is the kind of viability gap funding that can be coming from the state level or the center level? These mega infrastructures that we talk about, they have so much of property tax issues. If that can be taken, so we don't want money to come directly from the government, but if money from the pocket of the investor is actually taken out of the equation, that would be very good. We also wanted power duty concessions, which can actually be exempted through the concession period. Relaxations when it comes to FAR. Today, sports infrastructures, FARs in cities is very meager. Actually, if you want to really build something which is not only for sports, but sports, entertainment, hospitality, education, retail, commerce, all of that, because it can become a hub city center. Today, lot of state governments are also investing in sports development through infrastructure, but that is also kind of not utilized. We get utilization of less than maybe 1% per annum. So how can we galvanize it? So private participation and the encouragement of that private participation would be very good. I mean, infrastructure has now been even taken up in the national monetization pipeline, which we are very thankful for. However, now to monetize that pipeline is some of these concessions that are required. So I think a comprehensive policy, whether it is for reverse charge mechanism, whether it is GST augmentation, whether it is infrastructure development, more FANG engagement, entrepreneurship and incubation, because every athlete needs about 20 to 25 professionals around that athlete to succeed. We are those 20 to 25 people from the industry. So we would really look forward to a consultative program with the ministry, and maybe have a first of its kind sunrise industry being launched for sports as an industry. Thank you, ma'am, for my patient hearing. Thank you.
Yeah. Can I request Vidyushpat, one of our other office bearers, and then Neerajji, who is one of the sporting goods manufacturers, also to present thereafter, please. And then any of the members, the floor will be open. Over to you, Vidyushpat.
Thank you, Jarat sir, and thank you, Sujata ma'am, for again sparing time for Sportscom and taking interest to come in our meeting. So thank you so much for that. Ma'am, the two aspects that I wanted to briefly touch upon is one, CSR in sports, and the second aspect I wanted to touch about is how supplement testing in sports could also help in spurring sports. For CSR, ma'am, if you see the numbers of financial year 1920, about 21,200 crores approximately was spent on CSR, were given by companies in CSR contribution to various initiatives. But what came into sports is only 263 crores, which is about 1.24%. So that's a very meager percentage. Now, from what our discussion has been with various corporate is that they're reluctant to invest in sports as a CSR activity. They see other social activities as more amenable than a CSR in sports. And why we find that it could be is because the current Schedule 7 in the CSR rules says that CSR in sports is only limited to training to promote rural sports, nationally recognized sports, Paralympic sports, and Olympic sports. What our request, ma'am, is a couple. First is, ma'am, tournaments have been removed from the aspect of CSR funding. Now, tournaments in sports is not like a commercial tournament. Tournaments actually is a part of training where an athlete performs, then he gets to play at this national level, state level. His temperament is also judged in a particular tournament. It's not something, everything is not determined in a camp. So tournament forms the backbone of the sports system or the sporting infrastructure, and therefore we believe that tournaments could also be included. Um, the aspect where we understand that maybe the reluctance is to include commercial tournaments may be correct. So therefore, we are saying that sanctioned by the government or by a state body or by a body recognized by the government or the state body, only those to be included. Now, this is something not new, man, because this is also a part of the National Sports Development Welfare Scheme, where as well it is said that the government can contribute towards a tournament, and it is also a part of the Khelo India scheme, where also they say that events like the Khelo India scheme can be contributed towards even for CSR schemes. So we just need to collate everything and have a holistic approach in this so that the entire CSR initiative of what can be covered for contribution into sports is covered in the entirety. Sports is also community development, man, just like something like a Khelo.
Hear Vidyushpat clearly, or is it just me, or is it madam? Ma'am, can you hear Vidyushpat?
No, there is a.
Oh, it suddenly got very jarring.
Okay, okay.
No,
Is it
he's
better now?
talking, but I can hear him. I can
No.
make out.
We can make out, yeah, but it's not very clear.
Yeah.
Can
I
you
think you
please-
can carry on.
Yeah.
Please
So,
carry on.
sure. So, ma'am, is it better now?
Yeah, better.
Perfect.
The second additional thing what we wanted is because sports is also used for community development, not only in India but internationally. That could be to get more children to integrate it, especially people who may be vulnerable or maybe have gone through some trauma. So they could all be integrated into the society again through sports, and that could also be included as a part of the CSR initiative that the companies could take. So actually, ma'am, if we actually get sports in, enlarge the definition of what how sports can be used as a CSR activity. If we enlarge that definition, it could be a game changer because, as we said, there are 2,000 crores that the corporates are investing. If we can get even a small percentage of that, a lot can be done in sports. The second aspect, ma'am, which we wanted to touch upon is the aspect that while we have a national dope testing laboratory, we have a national anti-doping agency which is looking at result management in the sense of putting a disciplinary process in place of punishing the athletes. What is missing is an aspect of how supplements in sports can be tested. What is happening, ma'am, is all the good work that is invested into an athlete both financial as well as resources, as well as the human resources to help an athlete excel, goes all to waste if we end up consuming, say, a dubious supplement which may have a mixture. And what we are finding in India, ma'am, even near some stadiums, is that these supplements are getting sold in plastic bags, and open supplements are getting stored, and they are mixed because.
Can I intervene here? Can I intervene here, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Uh,
madam.
we have engaged actively with the Food Safety Standards Authority of India. I had a meeting with their chairman, and we are looking at the rules issued by FSSAI, which are effective 1st April 22, where such testing of dietary supplements is going to be compulsory. Right now, I'm engaging with them in trying to locate a laboratory where all such samples would be sent for testing. So we are already on the job, and we'll soon locate a lab where all these samples. Right now, there is no testing available for dietary supplements anywhere in the country. So we are
Ma'am, I
already
think.
working on that, and I'm hopeful that we'll soon locate a lab. And we've promised to support that lab in every which way, with expertise, as well as if required some funds and some technical wherewithal. And I'm hopeful that very soon we will have this track up and running. So I think we are already much in control of what is needed to be done. So maybe with that, you can go to the next issue.
Thank you, ma'am. As I said, it was very, you've taken the initiative much before actually our request, ma'am. We really
I started
grateful
working
for
on it
that.
as soon as I came to know about it.
So, thank you, ma'am. And we, as Sportscom, ma'am, if we can facilitate it in any manner with the
Sure,
policy or with the
sure,
human resource management issue, we'll be happy to facilitate and get into discussion on that.
sure. Right,
Thank you.
right. Okay.
Thank you,
Ma'am,
ma'am.
just to add to Vidushpat's comment, this is Udit here. There is a National Forensic Science University in Gujarat. They
I'm
are
aware.
they are very keen to be working in this sector.
Okay,
Can
noted.
I, madam, I'll just request Neeraj Jain, who's one of our sporting goods manufacturer. There are many other sporting good manufacturer on the call. So over to you, Neeraj ji. With all this emphasis of the government on PLI and scale and other things, I think this is becoming central to our discussion. Over to you, Neeraj ji, please.
Thank you, Jalaj bhai. Good afternoon, good evening, Sujata ji, and thanks once again to invite us, and you've come here and to listen to the manufacturing sector. And in the last meeting, we had placed our points in front of you. Out of those points, I'll just put in just the top 3 or 4. The ones which was first was the GST rate for fitness and sports to be the same at a low rate of 12%. What is charged for sports should be charged for fitness.
Mm-hmm.
And second, ma'am, was about the certification of products of Indian products, India-made products, which we get from the various federations. Those cost quite a lot, and what we wanted is, after getting those certificates, if we could be subsidized for the cost of that, so that more and more people can apply for those product certifications, and that will take the image of India much higher in terms of exports, in terms of a lot of people, a lot of big companies will come and start purchasing more products from India. So that was one factor, I think, which we are trying to tell each and every department other than the sports also. And I think they have got a good ear. The feedback is that this is a good point and that is a doable. And the expenditure also, as uh, what we had, was not very big, was not huge at all. For a small cost, the gains will be quite huge
Mm-hmm.
in the long, both short term and long term, ma'am. So, if I think in the last meeting, you had also spoken about this point being of interest to you. Taken up first, I think that will be a very good point. Then, ma'am, the next point was from the exporters side, that uh, they needed more compensation, or the under the road temp system. I think what the new system has come, the I think they're just getting about 3%, 1% or between 1 and 3%, as opposed to what they were earlier getting as 7%. So whatever data needs to be supported, that will be done, but a push from your side will be required for getting a better rate for the industry, so that we can have better export numbers. And on two parts we have, one was about the duties, which was higher on some intermediaries and raw materials, which could be, if they could be rationalized. That was one point. And the last one was about the subvention being given to some capacity additions, what we have done, and further on, uh, if you could get a PLI for our sports industry, so that more and more incentives can be provided, so that we have bigger scale, bigger manufacturing, and a broader reach for the international markets. Ma'am,
Right.
anything which needs explanation, ma'am, I'll be more than happy to.
I am aware of the issues that you have raised, and I have also been talking informally to the people in the Department of DPIIT, as it's called. So I am
Yes.
taking it up. You see, the whole aspect of the industry and the manufacturing side of sports has not yet been handled by this ministry, this department. It has
Yes, ma'am.
traditionally been with commerce. I mean,
Yes,
DPIIT
ma'am.
or commerce. So we engage with them. We advocate the cause of all these particular, issues. And I will keep the engagement on. I will keep putting our request in wherever possible in various forums in the government. And I'm sure we'll make some headway in at least some of these issues. That is all I can say as of now.
Ma'am, anything which is required from our side, we need to push more, we can do that. Any data required, we could support you with that also, ma'am.
Sure. I'll take care of
Anytime.
it.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, Sujata ji. I'll request Viren Raskina next.
Good evening, madam. Thank you for your time and for joining us today. It's an honor and pleasure to hear from you. I had met you very briefly at the first meeting of the MOC committee that recently happened. Yes. Madam, just to take forward Vidushpat's point on CSR for sport, if we can include competition also, so, sports competitions, because I think competition is the lifeblood of sport. And especially I would go further to say that women's competition and competition for girls at all level is really lacking. And one of the big reasons why I see that India is not able to do well, especially in physical sports, if you take hockey, boxing, wrestling, badminton, these are sports where you need to be regularly in competition. If that doesn't happen, and I'm talking about grassroots level, not at the elite level, I'm talking about grassroots, intermediate level. If we don't have these are because it's all about physical fitness. If you take long breaks, then there's no chance of them to come up to the highest level. So if we could get CSR for sports competitions, that would just give girls much more opportunity to play. Take for example my city in Mumbai. We don't have any sponsorship for women's hockey tournaments. Mumbai used to be a hockey nursery, but right now there's just no sponsorship for women's competition, and there's absolutely no girls playing hockey. We still can get boys to play hockey, but we used to have 3 or 4 girls from Mumbai and Maharashtra in the Indian hockey team. But right now, girls hockey, women's hockey is almost stopped. Because if there's no competition, it's hard to motivate kids to just be training every single day. So that was just my small.
Hockey India can't remedy that.
I'm talking in general across sports. Sports, something that needs to be done is to get more sponsorship in sport. And with COVID, unfortunately, budgets for sport, especially marketing budgets for sponsorship, are getting cut even more. And that's why CSR for competitions is critical. So this would be across sports, across federations. And right now, many federations are still not equipped to be able to do grassroots competition. They don't have the I would say, the bandwidth and the caliber to actually ensure that there's regular competition at all levels. Maybe they can manage elite level, but there's still huge gaps at grassroots and intermediate level.
Right, right. No, that's a valid point.
Thank you, madam.
Thank you.
Thank you. Really
Thank you.
appreciate
Thank
your
you.
time.
Can I request Rajav Navani now to go next, please?
Thank you. Thank you, madam. Really very insightful conversation, and really liked your approach that, going beyond the pandemic, things will need to change, and really we are here to see how we can work together, to tap into some of the emerging changes. So, I'm the Vice Chairman Managing Director of Jet Synthesis, and at Jet Synthesis, we've been able to create India's largest esports tournament organizing company through Nodwin Gaming, and then also at a grassroots level through Jet Sky Esports. And we've integrated globally into some of the largest championships that happen around the world, positioning Indian players to now be able to compete, in the Asian Games and even Olympics as we move forward. So as you also mentioned about esports, and I just wanted to share a few thoughts and even seek your help and advice on how do we really look at building this industry, because one thing definitely an opportunity that India has, given that a large part of the population is here, in a new area that is going to define a lot of competition around the world. There is a lot of finger hand, physical multitasking strategy, etc., like any other sport that goes into esports. So I think the ability to be able to create infrastructure again for training requires a very different approach. So is there something we can look at, how can we work with the government and others to really create training zones for esports? Also, I think the discussions with youth, particularly when it comes to, at the grassroots level, is there a way for us to educate people a lot more around esports, becoming esports athletes, and the large employment and professions that can get created around that as we emerge, going forward? And lastly, we also at Jetsons have been building esports games that the globe or the world can play coming out of India. Currently, really, there is no esports game, but we have a game with Sachin Tendulkar in cricket, Sachin Saga, as well as real cricket, which are simulated cricket games, and we have about 60% global market share. So, how do we really look at gaming companies that are creating platforms that can be esports worthy, to really get due recognition both within the country as well as, around the world? So this is the whole ecosystem that we believe can be shaped very well moving forward. So just wanted to park these thoughts with you and, get some of your inputs on this.
Yeah, I'm aware of all these issues, and the whole domain of esports is, as I would say, right now work in progress. So I've noted all your points, and I think we will continue to work on this as we move ahead.
Thank you.
Thank you, madam. If you have some more time, can I invite some more members to ask questions, ma'am?
I was thinking we'll finish by 5, so we can have about 10 more minutes.
Okay, yeah. I think
Because we
Zaid
started a little late.
Tahseen has raised his hand. Tahseen, you want to go next? Okay, can I request Shivang to go next, please?
Thank you, sir, and thank you so much, Madam Secretary, for sparing the time today. It is indeed a privilege to be talking to you. I'm Shivank, and I represent Dream Sports. We are a sports technology company with multiple brands such as Dream 11, which is the largest fantasy sports operator, Fan Code, which is a streaming platform, and Dream Capital, which is our investment arm. We have other brands as well, and all of us are dedicated towards ensuring that the sports ecosystem is enriched through greater incorporation of technology. It was very encouraging to hear your thoughts on how fantasy sports and esports will be driving fan engagement going forward, given the situation and the new realities that we're living in a post-COVID world. I'm very confident that esports and fantasy sports are how we will be interacting with sports in the coming days. As a sports tech company with a vision to make sports better, we are very keen to work with your department on making sure that the new sports policy lays due emphasis on promotion of sports technology And to that effect, we are more than happy to provide you with all the documentation and research through Sportscom and our fellow members. And if you have any questions on fantasy sports or esports, we are more than happy to give you a detailed presentation on that as well.
Right.
Thank you, ma'am.
No, I take note of that, and we'll take it as we go along.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Tahseen and then Dipti, please.
Good evening, ma'am. This is Tehseen Zahid from Sports and Fitness Sectorial Council. And as per the discussion in our last meeting at your office, ma'am, we have also touched the topic of how to standardize the concept of gyms and the gym trainers. So obviously there is a qualification already there for the gym trainers. But after your discussion with the council, we have approached the Bureau of Indian Standards, and we together have also done a small workshop to start working on putting up some parameters on standardizing the gyms, yoga centers, and fitness centers as per the guided layouts. So as soon as we'll get the first draft ready, basically we are taking a clue from the Europe Active SOPs. So
Okay.
as soon as we will get the ready draft with us from Bureau of Indian Standards, I will like to discuss it with you with your inputs and share to the ministry so that we can take it forward, ma'am. I
Sure,
thought just
sure.
quickly update you, ma'am, on this.
Sure, sure.
Thank you. Dipti and then Hakeem, please.
Good evening, ma'am. My name is Deepti Bopaya. I'm the CEO of Go Sports Foundation. I just wanted to take this opportunity to really, thank the entire ministry over the last Olympic cycle, especially for the openness and the way in which you all have interacted with all key stakeholders. As an organization, we've really attempted to complement the efforts of the government. And we feel like with the top scheme, with the Ministry of Youth Affairs and Sports, we've been able to collaborate a lot. My only request is, all the momentum that we built over the last Olympic cycle, if that can be continued, and a lot more interactions and meetings with stakeholders across to build this movement would be very valuable, because we're less than 1,000 days away from Paris. And we'd love to, we were the knowledge partners to the team for the Olympic and Paralympic contingent, along with Top Scheme and with the IOA. So any sort of inputs on the knowledge side of it, ma'am, and continuous conversation is really a request. Thank you so much.
No, let me tell you, Dipti, that we are already active on that front. We have a new CEO tops, we have a team tops, we have had meetings of the Mission Olympic Cell, and
Yes.
you would have seen some athletes lists also being issued.
Yes.
We were all completely booked and packed for the next few weeks, with Haryana Youth Games and all. Unfortunately, it's all come to a grinding halt because of the current situation. And as you know, people are unwell and people are not
Yes.
really available. So right now we can't but just sit and hold discussions maybe like this. So once we are out of the woods, hopefully very soon, we will again be catching up. We have a lot of work to do and catch up for the lost time. So not for a moment are we saying that the momentum is lost or anything. We are just
Not at all, ma'am.
taking a pause because of forced circumstances beyond our control.
We are actually in touch with your entire team, ma'am. Just wanted to say thank you for that. Thank you.
No, I'm very happy to hear that. Right. Thanks.
Thank you. I'll request now Hakeem, and then if there are no other questions, then Vivek Singh to offer the vote of thanks. Over to you, Hakeem, please.
Thank you, Jalaj. Good evening, ma'am. My name is Hakeemuddin Habibullah. I'm an Olympian swimmer and an engineer, and have been working over the years to develop the aquatic industry in India. The aquatic industry per se has been one of the worst affected during the pandemic, and aquatic engagement, we strongly believe, is an important activity, both at the grassroots level for, everyone's well-being and fitness, to the high performance levels, where the most number of gold medals at the Olympic Games are in the aquatic domain. So, I look forward to working alongside Sportscom, and, would like an opportunity to, present more on how the aquatic domain really requires a lot more support towards really reaching its true potential. So just looking forward to that, and look forward to working alongside you as well.
Okay, right, great. So that's it, I think, for today.
Yeah, ma'am. I'll just request Vivek Singh to propose a vote of thanks, please. Thank you.
Sujata ma'am, we are deeply touched by the time you've taken out for us. Thanks to our President Jalaj Dani, we really have a very committed lot of members. And we are here to support the ministry's initiatives. There's a lot of change required in sport, but I assure you, ma'am, it's completely worth it. You more than anyone will understand that just 6 grams of gold, which is what's contained in an Olympic medal, lifts the worth of a nation.
Very true.
Ma'am, is truly the soft power that this entire industry wields. And I really feel that with you coming in, ma'am, we'll make those changes. You have been empathetic and sensitive on the losses that we have made, on live sports events coming in a hybrid form, on esports, on fantasy sports. So you have, ma'am, very quickly touched upon so many of the important points. And as Sportscom, we are grateful. We just hope that we see the breakthroughs, which with you now, I'm sure we will. We are happy to lend our support and shoulder to the wheel. And once again, on behalf of our president, on behalf of all the members of Sportscom, we thank you for taking the time out and patiently listening to us. We know we put a lot on your plate, ma'am, but yes, a lot needs to be done. Thank you so much.
It was a pleasure to meet all of you, and a lot of the issues that you have mentioned are already on our radar. And like I mentioned, our effort to work on as many fronts as possible is already on. And I will continue to engage and seek your inputs as and when required. And you're also welcome to tell me whatever you wish should come to my notice. And I wish you all the best. And I hope we all come out of this pandemic very soon. I hope this is the end of the waves, as they say. And my best wishes to all of you once again. Thank you.